Default codec. Hello. All right, awesome. So that's gonna bring my mic live. I messed that up a little bit. Um, Trying to work all the kinks out in my system as I'm starting anew. I was just saying that trying a new format out. I know you guys saw my wife. Luckily, you didn't hear any of the vacuuming before, but for those who have seen it, you're seeing a different view of my room. I haven't switched rooms. I just switched the orientation of my room to be looking behind. So now every time my wife comes in, you could see her right away versus she would have been able to hide and act like I'm just trying to slip in and get this and get that. Nah, now you're gonna catch her when she comes in, and to her dismay, if she doesn't realize that I'm streaming, that's just life for her. But yeah, today we're going to be talking about networking and the art of following up. So this is a topic that I thought was really interesting to share, especially because times of COVID, people are very curious about how to how to best get themselves into the industry, especially when it comes to UX. I think these are principles are more applicable to any type of profession you are in. It's not just restricted to a UX designer. I know this focuses on designers, but for my purposes, designers are those who are designing their life, they're designing services, they're designing products, anything of that nature. You are a designer in your own right. I don't limit it only to if you're a professional UX designer or if you're a graphic designer, anything like that. I think we all are designers of our own life, and it's really good to have that be at the forefront of what we're doing. So take what you can as you will. I did prepare a script, so I am learning a little bit of how to do that balance between scripting as well as talking fluently. So if you do have any questions, if you are popping in, just say hi in the chat. Be sure to ask your questions in the chat because I'm gonna be going through it. So the first thing we want to talk about is just like a quick introduction. So um, what I've noticed is that coming into a new field could be very daunting. A lot of people, when they don't feel like they know anyone or know anything, it just becomes a really huge task that you don't know where to start. So you're new to Kid on the block and you're starting to try and build your network of people to connect with, but you don't really know. So let's talk about it. Um, According to Oxford Dictionary, networking is the action or process of interacting with others to exchange information and develop professional or social contacts. And that's one thing that we're really interested about when we're talking about networking because people are looking to see who's going to fit in their network, whose network can they also fit in. If we do it in our friends group, so if you want to hang out with people with similar interests, come from the same neighborhoods, you could do that. If you have people that enjoy volleyball or like tennis or enjoy knitting or clay making or gaming, anything like that, we are still networking and trying to find people that we could do these things on a regular basis with. So it's not only in the career aspects that we're talking about this. It's not uncommon to connect with those who align with you at the end of the day. We're going to speak on a professional side of things for today, but as I said, these principles could go for your hobbies, exercise habits, reading lists, just about anything that intersects with your life because we're always building relationships, we're always working with other people. So, personally, when I network with people, I try to find out why I want to connect with them in the first place. Having a just because attitude never really worked for me because it showed in the way that I approached them and it shows in the way that we all approach people. And a lot of people get turned off by that. It's not so much a I'm trying to get to know you and I'm trying to build things up so that we can understand each other. It's more of a I need something from you, so just give it to me, please, because I just want to have what you have instead of, hey, where could we help each other out? I've seen you've been doing this and I'm interested in making that connection. So, things that you want to ask yourself is do you want to work on your presentation skills? Do you want to work on your visual design skills? Have people you want to sit and chat about trends on the latest NFTs or cryptocurrency or anything else in the industry? You really want to find what matters most to who you're connecting with and see where you have that common interest and where that intersection happens. So, one other thing you have to realize when you're networking with people is that as much as you want to connect with them, it's an opportunity for you to scope out if they are a good fit for you. It's not all one sided that they are a person that is going to be questioning you if you're wasting their time. You're also doing your due diligence to qualify these people and say, hey, I can see this person being part of my network and who I'm trying to learn and understand as I go along. It's not just them looking at me as being, oh, I'm not going to talk to you because you don't like to quilt in the evenings. And you'd be like, well, great. I don't need to talk to you if you need people that are quilters. And one other thing that you have to realize is that if you're looking for a mentorship, you can look at people who are actively working on that skill. Especially when it comes to this aspect, a lot of people, when they're just starting out looking for mentors, you also have to qualify them as well as your network. So it goes in all of these different facets of doing it. You have the power to determine, is this someone who I jive with, who I can connect with, who outside of just the bare minimum of teach me the thing, I want to have a conversation further than that. Are they genuinely interested in making quite a connection, or are they half-assing being in your presence? I know there's a few people that when I went into the conversation, it was just like, so what do you want? You're not important. Like, who cares? And as we started talking more, as they started seeing how I was building off of their ideas and how they started looking at what I was thinking and got excited and putting in their own input, that started to make me think of, you know what, I could continue this conversation with people. As well, there's also people that were kind of running around, hard to get their time, never easy to pin down. And I had to decide, you know what, this is not a relationship that I need. I'm not trying to chase you because I'm not desperate for your connection. I can wait and we could shelve it and we could pick it up another time when you find the time and the reason to do it. But at the end of the day, I'm not here to be your friend because I'm not going to have any other friends in the world if you're not there. I'm not going to have any other meaningful connections if you're not there. It's okay. We don't need to do this. That's fine. And these are choices that you have and they are possibly making as well. We can't really escape it because if when you're doing it on your side, they're doing it on their side. It's like a relationship. If you're trying to date somebody, you're doing that tug and pull, see where your interests intersect and things like that. So now that we have talked about, I went through a lot of these without without updating my slide deck. I'm learning. We're going through this together. We're trying to see how I could best pace this, where we talked about what we're going to be talking about, how are you a good fit, why are you connected, the reasons why you're connecting, are you a good fit, nobody has everything that you need. We didn't really talk about this one, but when you have people that have the same interests as you, I won't tell you that somebody will have everything that you need. Honestly, when it comes to a lot of the connections that I've made, if I had 15 to 20% interests that I share with them, that was good enough for me to make a certain connection, because there's certain buckets that you have friends where maybe you only talk about design work. Maybe you only talk about martial arts and a little bit of life. Maybe there's somebody that you play games with and then you talk about the whole gamut of your life with marriage and children and all of those things with. But you really have to understand that not everybody is going to satisfy everything that you need. They might only take that 20%, which makes up the whole. So like, for example, I've seen a lot of amazing UI designers, but they don't have a ton of experience in strategy. And for me, if I'm looking for somebody that's really aligned with strategy and getting better at strategy, I probably won't connect at that level, especially if I don't have that enthusiasm. I don't want to waste that person's time, and I don't want them to feel like that either. You want to surround yourself with as many people as you can that have different facets for you to connect with, because then you start building a network where your skills are being catered to and be able to elevate based off of that. And who knows, through doing those constant sessions and really talking about and being passionate about those areas, you could blossom friendships out of there as you continue to have those conversations. You have someone that you can connect with on sports, someone that you might want for data analytics, someone you want to connect with your overall career progression. Just try to find as many of your facets that are most important to you and make those connections and see who's aligned. It's always best to balance out your relationships, but not put too much pressure on one person. It's hard enough managing our own lives. Don't pressure them to manage all of your questions as well and your interests. It's unrealistic. It doesn't work out that way for anything in life, really. So we've covered a lot of what is the bigger picture, looking at the definition of networking, how we have to go into mindset, where we put our buckets in terms of people and things like that. But now we have to figure out, what do we actually do to get your networking? So when it comes to networking, you can meet people in many different places that your head could spin. But we're going to be looking at three different areas as well for where do you look, what type of volunteering, which is a secret way of networking that a lot of people don't really utilize because they usually chase the money more so, and then the art of following up, which is the also part of this title. So as you can see on the board here, there's many different things that we could look at. So I recommend, if you could find time, you could go to conferences. If you have the money for it, especially because some conferences are like $800 plus and things of that nature. You go to meetups. So there's a website called meetup.com that you could just go and see where local events are in your area. You could search by the subject matter that you're looking for, and you could start doing it at a more intimate, smaller level where you're able to ask questions to any guest speakers. You're able to go into a workshop that other people are doing where it's trying to look at a new tech or something like that. And you're able to just show your face throughout what you're doing. Forums are also a really good place. I haven't personally used them, but there's active communities like Reddit or Discord that I know for like the gamers and kind of that subject matter. But you can find so many different forums where you can connect with people that are like-minded, going to work on the same skills you are in that way. And through community chats, say like in Slack, I know there's a lot of really good design communities in Slack. I haven't been as actively participating as I was before, but I know that's another area where you can start making connections with people. And if all else fails, you can start Googling these events and communities in your area and just start talking to people. I know that it may be daunting if you're more of an introvert, and I can understand that. I switch between being introverted and extroverted, but show up anyways. Most of those people, or a lot of those people within those communities, may be an introvert as well. But you see them on stage and they're speaking with people. You see them in the crowd and they're making small connections with people. And you see them taking up the time to ask questions. And you may be like, oh my gosh, this person's so extroverted. They're so great. But in the meantime, as soon as they're done doing this, they are at home, they crash, and they're just like, I don't want to talk to anybody for like 3 hours. So don't be afraid of going to the networking aspect of it and allowing yourself to be yourself as an introvert. Trust me, people in these different environments understand. Not everybody's an extrovert. Not everybody wants to be the center of attention, but everybody is allowed and able to be there. And I think you should allow yourself that luxury as well. So as you're hoping to make quality connections, there are many people that are looking to do the same. So you may be nervous. You may think that nobody wants to speak to me. And then you're filled with a room with a bunch of other people. Even maybe the guest speaker is thinking, I don't know if anybody wants to listen to me as I do this YouTube and I make these podcasts and I put out my TikToks. I'm also thinking like, who wants to listen to me? I don't know. Maybe there's somebody that connects with it. Maybe, but I'm just going to show up and hope for the best of making some of those genuine connections. And if I could help one person each time I let something out in the world. Each time I show up, I can make one person that I could just have a good conversation with, connect with outside. It's a win. That's a W. So if you do all of this and it fails, one thing I look at is going to your social network on LinkedIn and make connections. So with LinkedIn, it's a great to filter and find people within my vicinity that I found. And a secret trick that I looked at when it came to that was, who are those people that took a path that was similar to mine? So I took a boot camp at General Assembly back in 2017. And I started looking at, hey, let me go and find people that came from this boot camp from the boot camp that I went to. So, oh, did you graduate last year? Did you graduate a few years ago? I think these were some things that I use as pre-qualifiers to be like, hey, you already know kind of the situation that I'm in. You could empathize with me more, and maybe you have some advice and never thought that anybody would be looking to you to see how do you go into the next steps. Interested in what you're doing and like, wow, you made this career change and I see you as an inspiration because you were able to do it in X amount of months. How did you do it? I'm just interested in your story. I've been doing these things and I found them effective. What have you found effective? Like having those conversations and letting them know that you're still a human and that you still are interested in learning from them. And I seen so many alumni, again, caught off guard to see people connect with them and want to learn more about them. A lot of the people that I met, they were just totally unexpecting me to reach out to them or even care that they existed, because we all have this internal problem where we're like, I don't know if people are going to like me. I don't know if anybody's going to be looking at what I'm doing or things like that. So you really got to just let yourself be. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be anything that you're like, oh, everybody I talk to is going to be a hit. It's 100% hit and there's no problems or anything like that. And they're so high in their career that they may not be expecting me to reach out to them, or they might not have time. Forget all of them. Forget all of those things. Just reach out to them, invite them for coffee, invite them for lunch, whatever it is. And make sure you pay for it. I never stretched $20. Okay, so I wrote this down, but honestly, I've never stretched $20 in my life more than I did the multiple times I went through the week. I was broker than I've ever been before. I had no real income coming in, and I'm like, you know what? Let me see what are some things that I could do. How do I get it? Where do I meet them? I'm gonna always lead to pay for it. If they decide to pay for it, that's on them. But I know I'm going with the integrity of paying for it and show that you're appreciating your time. Maybe you're not spending their hourly rate for a consultation or a coaching or one thing like that, but you still got to show that you value their time and that you're interested in this connection more so than just, yeah, I want you to come out and be like, you're making more money than me. Why don't you pay for it? I'm just going to show up. And that's an attitude that a lot of people really don't like. And you could turn a lot of people away when it comes to that. So, oh, I didn't put it over here, but before we get in looking into, yeah, I didn't add it over here, but before we get into looking at the follow-up portion of it, one thing that I found was really important to do was volunteer. So this is kind of a secret weapon that especially people newer in the industry have, or if you're going to a community where you're starting off new. So maybe you're looking for a hobby that you're starting off new with and you want to kind of get into the culture of it, or you're starting in a career and you're trying to understand the culture and get around people and around ideas. A good thing to do is to volunteer. And a few reasons why I say volunteering is good is because you have the ability to attend conferences or even sometimes events for free if the opportunity is, because you're giving your time and because you're making sure that the show runs. You might not be getting paid for it. You might not be getting all of the information at every convenient time because you're spending so much time organizing things, but you're able to attend for free and you can make those smaller connections and conversations from there. you surround yourself with the exact people you want to network with. So you're already at the conference. You may not have the time to go and do all the smaller breakouts and things like that, but other people that may be in the same boat as you, that are your peers, other people that are more senior, that are doing the organizational work, or if you find somebody that you're like, oh my gosh, really want to talk to that person, or I heard them say something and I want to just like kind of go into the conversation and be like, oh, I found that interesting. You have that ability because you're there and people are around you. So you could take advantage of it at that time. And you start building connections with organizers and others that you could bump into. So as you start showing your work ethic, as you start showing that you're somebody that could be relied upon and is engaging as a person just by being yourself and things like that, it's easier when you start looking for those jobs to get recommendations, or people would think of you top as mind for, oh, you know what? Jermaine did a really good job in volunteering. I thought he was great. And he actually like learned a lot of the information. He shared it with me, and I thought it was really good because I started connecting with him. So maybe you should talk to him and think about him. So weird how even my work and a lot of the side opportunities that I did came from people talking about me to somebody else, where I'm just like, I just had a conversation with them. What do you mean you want to talk to me or connect with this person to do volunteer work or things like that? Like, you never know where these opportunities come from. So it's always good to just put yourself out there and engage in these things and be in the environment where people are. And you have a purpose and can start having small relationship building as you move forward. As I said, very important. You don't know where they're going to go. You don't know how they're going to happen, but it gets you active and inside of the community, which is really what's most important. One of the most important things when it comes to networking. So for this one, I think out of all the things that we talked about today is the most important in my eyes. It's hard enough, I understand, for people to get out of their shell and to go in front of people and say, hey, I want to talk to you, or you have a good conversation, and then do that. It's hard at a certain degree, but something that I find even harder is what happens after. So imagine you had a really good conversation with somebody. You know they're exactly who you're looking for in terms of mentorship, or they're exactly as who you're looking for in terms of where they're going in their direction and their interest level in your subject that you're interested in. And now it's just like, wow, I've made this really good connection. I really want to talk to this person some more. The crucial part after that is the follow-up that you have to do. It doesn't matter how many people you've had a quick chat with. If that's the last conversation that you had with them, then you aren't building a relationship. It's just small time entertainment at most. It's not actually building a connection. I know it may sound kind of flippant to say, well, I talked to this person and it was really good conversation, and just putting it as entertainment. But what are you actually gaining from that? What are you actually growing out of that experience where you can have more conversations with that person like that? Or is it just like, oh, you know what, it felt good that time, I got a really good feeling about it, let me just stretch it out and just think, and then you're done. You don't want to leave relationships like that, because that's when you're not building. It's like, imagine going on a date with someone, having a great time, and never message them again. You get ghosted, you miss out on the opportunity at that time. As much as it can feel overwhelming to track who you need to follow up with, you need to open the door of having a continued conversation. Even if it's just a message about, hey, you know what? Thanks, that was a great conversation after we connected. Have you seen anything about the subject matter of where it's moving with Web 3.0? We had a big conversation about it. Now I want to say I'm interested and carry on that conversation with you, and not make it just a wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, we're not talking anymore. You really want to go back on those principles and those topics and subjects that really brought you two together and had that interesting conversation, and lead up there and see, hey, you know what? Are you free this time? I'd like to go and do this, or this event is happening and I thought of you. Whatever that is, you have to think of, how do I continue this conversation with this person as a relationship is being built? Probably the most difficult but most impactful part of this whole networking is how you follow up. Maybe you don't talk to them and see them in a month. Maybe it takes a few months to come. Maybe you talk to them in a year and then that's where the connection is. Whatever it is, you're still dropping those small little nuggets of relationship building throughout the way. I'm not saying that every single person you connect with, you have to be buddies with and you have to talk to every week and see that, but it doesn't hurt to always follow up and say, hey, just saw you got a new job. Really appreciate it. How are you finding this? Or, hey, I saw that your company did this, or I saw that you posted this. How was that experience and things like that? Just start showing that you care more about just getting things from them and just like, I actually am interested in seeing this person do well, seeing where this person's life is leaning, things like that. And you really want to take time to see, is this a relationship also worth moving forward? Was it just a really good conversation that night, but they don't have the same enthusiasm of keeping up this relationship as you do? It's okay if you walk away, and if it doesn't come anything more, don't blame yourself for it. It's just the way of how life goes. You can't always win and keep the relationships that you think like, oh man, this would be the perfect relationship. Or we'd have a lot different types of relationships that come out of getting a partner than people have today. If it was just about, if you like somebody, they have to keep that relationship going with you. And all this to say, it's definitely a realization that networking is tough. We want to make the best first impressions, get useful information and direction for every interaction we have, but we have to realize that relationships take time. They're not something that could be done over just the weekend and then you're fulfilled with the rest of your life. If you want to continue the relationship, you have to continue growing it. And one thing that we didn't mention before that's really important is we can't come out of a place of desperation and wants, but we have to come from a place of interest and curiosity. People know the difference if you're coming from that place of, oh my gosh, I need a job. I'm talking to you to see if you get me a job. Could you get me a job? Oh my gosh, I need a job. Could you get me a job? Could you get me a job? No job. People feel that energy, that nervous, anxious, desperate energy from you. And it's not conducive to making good relationships. You want to always approach it with, hey, what are you doing? Oh man, that's interesting. Hey, why did you do that? Oh, where did that go? Oh, like that interest and curiosity is a much better approach to building these relationships. Of course, there's some people that don't like all the questions or that curiosity or interest because it could be interrogating. So also check that line where you're seeing, am I pushing too much? Am I trying to push this relationship further than letting that other person reciprocate and let them go at their own pace? And overall, these type of things will help your conversations go smoother, help your relationships go smoother throughout your career and your life as you're making more network connections and bringing more people together. So that's it that I have for my portion of it. I'm really happy that we were able to have this conversation. I don't see many people or any people in the chat right now, so this might be one that just goes to YouTube and then we get some comments later on as we get people come in. But if you do have any questions or any comments, please hit me up, because half of these things or all of these things that I wrote is what I found important. What really matters to me is what you find important when it comes to these subjects, when it comes to what you're dealing with and how you're handling it. So leave your comments, leave your questions. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe, because I'm going to be doing more of these live sessions so that we can tackle different subjects, either from being a UX designer or progressing in your career and building some of those softer skills that we want to work with, or maybe we do something else. That's for me to worry about when we get there. But for now, thank you, everybody. And don't forget, whatever I'm saying is just help guide you through this journey. not to tell you exactly what the whole truth is. That's something that you have to find out by yourself through your own design. Peace.